Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing day. In this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of real estate investing. All right, so I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to talk to you about the negative stuff and also the great things about being a real estate investor, a full-time real estate investor. And let's go. All right, the first pro, let's start off with the good. You are your own boss. You make your own schedule. You answer to your wife or your husband, your spouse when you're not there, when you're working late. But you're like, Brent, I thought you were gonna give us a pro. Sometimes being your own boss is a good thing, and sometimes being your own boss is a terrible thing. So I'm gonna kind of just give it to you real today. Pro, I love being my own boss. I love taking vacations whenever I like. I like making my own schedule, but sometimes I pay the consequences. Like this morning, I had to get up really early to come film today because I didn't have my information ready. So being a business owner, that's on me, so I had to get my butt up early and get it done. So sometimes being a business owner is a really good thing, but also sometimes it can be bad because you have to work a lot of hours and figure it out too because you're the boss, you're the owner of the company. You're not always gonna have someone else to rely on, and you gotta get it done. Next pro is, again, I make my own schedule, so I get to pick my kids up from school. At the end of the day, I get to have breakfast with them first thing in the morning. I get to see them before they go to school, and I get to see them after they go to school, because that is one of the pros of owning your own business. I choose where I wanna work. I used to have my own office as a business owner, and I would drive into this office and work all day long and then leave at the end of the day, and I wouldn't drop my kids off at school or pick them up. So it was getting a little bit crazy. It's like, well, why do you own your own business? You got out of the military. You left the military because you were always away. And guys, I didn't realize this. My wife is the one that told me, she's like, look, I think you're working more now that you're out of the military. So that's a con. Like, you've got to be careful as a business owner as making your own schedule to not work so much where you're kind of like your kids are growing up without you even being there. So again, pro and a con right off the bat. I make my own schedule now. I block those times. I block those times to take the kids to school. Now, do I take them to school every day? No. Do I pick them up every day? No. But I can be there in the mornings for breakfast. I can be there at dinner time. I can be there at lunch with my wife on a random Wednesday. So that is the power of owning your own business, owning your own real estate company, and making your own schedule. The next pro of being a real estate investor is the passive income portion. I did another video on the best real estate investment strategy, and I showed a screenshot of my email of every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, getting paid passive income. That is by far the biggest pro. I love it because it gives me time freedom. It gives me virtual freedom. It gives me geography freedom to work from anywhere in the world, and it also gives me financial freedom. That is the power of passive income. Another pro of real estate investing is owning buildings, owning rentals, owning a commercial space, owning apartment complex, owning your office building. Is you have massive tax write-offs by doing this because you get to depreciate the buildings. You get to do something called cost segregation. You definitely want to run this by your CPA, your certified public accountant. Get an accountant, get a good bookkeeping firm to help you out with these things, and study tax law. The IRS writes these codes to benefit business owners, to benefit real estate investors, providing housing, offices, and building space. Now, I can't do this with my vacant raw land that I get payments on because there's no buildings to depreciate, but there's also no tenants calling me ever because the toilet's broke or the roof's leaking and the foundation's cracking. However, I still have to buy these buildings for the massive tax write-off. So one of the major pros of real estate investing is the taxes. You get so many benefits on tax write-offs. Another pro is retiring super rich. There's an old saying in real estate: buy real estate and wait. Buy real estate and wait. It all goes up in value eventually. Now, there might be roller coasters, there might be peaks, there might be valleys. But here's the thing, as a 18-year-old, 30 years from now, these properties can be paid off. If you're 30, maybe you're saying, I'm 30. Oh man, I wish I would have started buying it at 18. Well, when you're 30 and you start buying and you have a 30-year mortgage, it's all gonna be paid off at age 60. Age 60. Retirement age is 65, right? So you got a 5-year little buffer. Maybe you can pay it off a little earlier. Maybe you're 35 and you buy a bunch of houses. You're not gonna have it paid off until 65. That's 30 years of compounding, 30 years of mortgage pay down, 30 years of appreciation, 30 years of someone else paying that mortgage by renting that house, renting that office space, whatever it is. All right, another con is things sometimes get dumped on the vacant raw land that we have. You know, sometimes my buyer will move things into it like boats and RVs and storage units and storage sheds, and they're not supposed to have it in that particular area. That is one major con that I've found now that we have like 74 land notes, people paying us. The code enforcement violation guy will call and say, hey, there's multiple RVs on this property, there's multiple boats, you're not allowed to have this. So we have to contact our buyer and say, hey, you've got 30 days to remove it or you're gonna start paying the fine. So that's another con. You actually have to keep on top of this stuff because you can't just let these investments go to the wind, because this is what's paying your bills every single month. Another pro of real estate investing is what else can you buy that a bank will loan you the money to buy something that appreciates, that you can pay insurance to protect it if it burns down or gets stolen or destroyed, and then someone else is willing to rent it from you to pay that mortgage down to where the mortgage goes down every month and the appreciation eventually goes up and you eventually own it free and clear. These assets go up in value that other people pay for, that you can borrow money to buy and insure it to protect it. Like, what other business does that work out on? Hey, before I get to the next point, I hope you smash that subscribe button. That is like a gift to me, a tip to me. All right, I want to talk about some cons. You know, things break. Refrigerators stop running, air conditioners stop cooling, heaters stop heating, sometimes roofs leak, and you gotta be prepared to fix these things when you're in the rental business. That's why I love land. You know, I don't have to worry about any of those things I mentioned. However, we do have rentals too, but I love land, and that's where we make our money the fastest, and that's where we take the money from land to buy more income producing assets. But that's a whole nother strategy, but that's a con about real estate. Things break all the time. Next, tenants. Tenants are calling. Tenants want a nice space to live in. Sometimes you get an amazing tenant. Sometimes you get the worst tenant in the world that will break your windows, destroy your house, and not pay the rent all at the same time. But then you get that sweet lady that will stay there and live there for 10 years and never ask for a single thing. We've seen all the above. So sometimes you just gotta take the beautiful, sometimes you gotta take the ugly to get the beautiful, because if you didn't have ugly, you probably wouldn't have beautiful. So you just gotta look at it that way. There's many pros, there's many cons of real estate investing. All right, and that leads me into evictions. Let me tell you, an eviction is not the end of the world for you as a landlord. It kind of sucks for the tenant that you have to evict, but sometimes these things are going to happen. You as a business owner, as a real estate investing professional, you are going to have to, sometimes ruin someone's day. Sometimes you're gonna have to kick someone out of your property. Sometimes you're gonna have to evict. And I'll tell you, there's attorneys out there that will help you do that. IRS tax audit. I pray this never happens to you. Here's one recommendation to keep away from this con is to keep your books in order. Do not deal in cash. Everything goes in the bank account. Everything goes in QuickBooks, and you have someone that's looking at your books every single month, going through reconciliation every single day. If you're spending that much in your real estate company, that is the easiest way to avoid having a run-in with the IRS. And finally, for the final con, which this could be a pro as well, is debt versus leverage. Debt is sometimes a bad thing. It's looked at very badly. If you're talking to Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman that said pay off the house, never get a loan for anything. But debt allows us to buy more real estate, and then leverage allows us to buy real estate faster with other people's money to bring money in. So that could be looked at as a con from some people and a pro for others. I think it's more of a pro because there's a lot of people out there willing to lend money at very fair interest rates to allow you to buy an asset that someone else is going to rent from you, and you keep the difference each month. And here's what's really cool. Eventually it pays off, and eventually it appreciates and it's worth $1 million, and you sell it, you pay the capital gains, or you don't, and you buy a better investment with it. So that's a whole nother story for another video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hey guys, as you notice, I mentioned land investing multiple times. I think that is the biggest pro in the real estate industry. My name is Brent Bowers. I've done over 400 land deals, and I mentioned I've got 74 notes paying me every single month. I even mentioned on the other video called What is the Best Real Estate Investment Strategy that I show you the payments we're getting in every single month. If you're looking to build a business just like that will serve you and your family and eventually others, to allow you to get rid of the shackles, to allow you to quit that old job that you no longer want to be in, I want you to head on over to thelandsharks.com right now, schedule a call, fill out the form. If my team likes what you have to say, we might even invite you into the tribe.